Hello, everyone. I am just making sure that this all sounds okay. And then we will do a quick little uh, information session on where you can find images and to give you some insight into places where you can start to, let me make sure that it's, let's see, I see that it's live. We can see if it is. Okay, there's sound. Excellent. Okay, so um, we're talking about all the different sections of things that we need for a final project, and instead of overloading you with everything all at once, we're gonna go week by week, and then I can have these sessions and you can ask questions if you get stuck on something. I imagine that the real questions will come next week and the week after when we start to do the actual HTML of the pages. And you're always welcome to send an email to me if you don't want to be on stream. So let's open up our weekly task breakdown. So week 11, we need to find at least 2 images for your site and save them in your images folder. And some people don't know how to save images from the web, so I figured I would do this as a complete tutorial. And then when we get into editing on our pages, we will use the image tag to display them on the pages. Obviously, we don't have pages yet, so we don't necessarily need to worry about that step, but I figured I would leave that there in case you weren't sure of what that code was to be able to do that. There's a lot of things that will be moving forward, so I don't want to have you not be sure what to do. So the first thing that we need to do is find an image. Now, obviously, you can go to Google and you can search up pictures for butterflies, and you can click the images tab and it'll have a whole bunch of butterflies. If you were going to do something about, you know, a website on butterflies and their wonderfulness. When you click the picture, you see it comes over here. It has a size 1920 by 1080. This one is 1600 by 1731. Now, if you right click into the picture, you can save image as, and it should butterfly in resting position. And you can also change the name if it's a bunch of gobbledygook. And then you'll want to go into your documents and then into your images folder and then save that there. Then if you wanted to do another butterfly, like I do like this one is stunning. Save image as, and then it should open up into the last folder where you were at. So this says blog 27, right? And I don't know what kind of butterfly this is, but I would know what blog 27 was, right? So I can say blue hyphen and hyphen black butterfly. Now the hyphens help back in the day when people put spaces and stuff like Word and the inter the internet and also like the computers didn't do anything with spaces. That was not a thing. And so you can put spaces into file names and stuff, and it doesn't really cause that much of an issue. But it's always good practice to do the hyphens so that when you are typing this all out, like a space turns into percent 20 as far as HTML code, and then that can sometimes break things. It happens less now, but back in the day, um, it it would happen all the time. And I'm going to say on yellow flower. Now, this will also go a long way towards figuring out what our alt text would be, right? When we do our images, which is in the web accessibility portion of our lessons. This one is really pretty too. Maybe I'll just do blue and black butterflies. So this says Hero Crop Shutterstock AVIF. Now, an AVIF file is completely different than a JPEG or PNG, so you may want to avoid it just so that you don't have to figure out if there's some weirdness that you have to program in. This guy looks cool. And it's 800 by 609. So the sizes are important because there's an image ratio, which we've learned about. And if you want to edit the images and make them square or make them a specific ratio, 16 by 9, something like that, then you can take it from obviously the largest number. Um, and if you want it to be smaller on the web page, a little bit. So say we want to make this 600 in place of the 800. That's not a whole lot of compression. It's not a big difference for loading this Australian butterfly into our browser. But if the file was significantly larger and we're trying to load it as like a thumbnail, that's when we run into some network trouble trying to load a big picture in all of its glory to have it be a really tiny little image. And there are exercises about image sizes based on viewports and how big and small the page is. So save image as red cracker blue butterfly. That's a decent name. All right, so we have 3 pictures saved. Now, if you don't want to use Google and you want to look at some sites that have legitimate pictures, because obviously if I was working in the industry, I am not allowed to just take other people's pictures. I have to either provide monetary compensation or credit them on the website. There are a couple of sites, one of them being Pexels.com and Pixabay is another one, and there's a couple other free sites out there where you can search for images and then download them. Some of them require attribution if you are a company, but since this is a student-based thing, we don't have to. You notice they intersperse ads like with iStock, which is a paid service. So if you happen to have free access to that through some other subscription, you're totally welcome to use it. I am not going to come at you for having somebody else's images on your page without license rights. So no one else will see it unless you share it with somebody. So here's all the butterflies. Now these images, they have a download button. It's got a Canva. Now you'll notice I have Canva open over here because we'll talk about those software options so you can get a head start if you're wanting to just get to the designing, get to figuring out where you want things to be. So you can if you're in Canva, you can have some options here, or you can download. I'm going to look for blue and see if that gives me some better options. Here we go. Some more blue butterflies. That looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? This is a really pretty one. Oh, this one's nice. Okay, so when you click download, it says you can say thank you by giving them a donation or a follow, and it has their Instagram and their X or whatever other social media they have. And then you can, of course, provide attribution in the working world by using this attribute button. Now, it's not necessary. You don't have to because it's a project. But in the real world, stock photos can get harassed if if you went and sourced out all of your photos and then said they were from you, that is against the law in a corporate world. All right, so this one has the little download button up here. This is a little pretty blue butterfly, so I'm going to click that button. And it's downloaded it, and it says, say thanks. By downloading, you agree to the license, and you can look at the license when you're in the corporate world. And then this is how you can provide attribution. So these are in my downloads folder, and let me make sure. Okay, I've been doing a lot of website work. So here's those 2 pictures. They have the names of the person on them, and that's to help find them if they were going to do a search and figure out who's using their pictures without compensation or accreditation. So okay, sorry. So you can rename this here if you want to something a little bit easier. We can call it the Mazarine blue butterfly. And you see it has its width on the end of it, which is nice if you need to have multiple versions of it. So I'm going to leave that there. And then this one, it just provides a number. So we can say blue and black spotted butterfly. So then I'm going to select both of them by holding down the control key. And of course, you can do them one at a time or together. I can open up my documents. We have to do this the long way. Okay, then users, then my name, then documents, then find my Comp 107 projects folders. Let me scoot this over. Okay, so here's my final folder for this. So we'll do both ways just so you guys have the experience. So if I want to bring this into the images folder, you can just drag it and move it to images and there it goes. But if you wanted to copy and paste, and you can copy more than one at a time, and then you can go into that folder directly and then paste, and then it puts it in there. Now I have 5 pictures of similar looking butterflies for my web page. You can have more than 2 pictures for your website. And in fact, the assignment at the end of this week, which is only 5 points, boop, 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 boop. It's down here. Did you pick out your pictures? And the instructions are submit how many pictures you found that you want to use on your website. And it should be a number above 1. It's just 5 points. So if you've picked out 3 pictures, just write the number 3. It should be all there is to it. And then as long as you submit that, you'll get full credit. So next week, we do talk about how to do let me close these because it's a lot of information. Okay, we're going to talk about designing a simple page layout, and I'm going to get into some HTML coding into a document based on a design. Now, the designing part, it can be sketched on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be done in either of these electronic things online. So I have Figma and there's also Canva, and they're both free and you can sign up for it and you get a certain number of uses. And the idea behind this is that sometimes you need to kind of map out where you want things. So in this Figma, we have the nav at the top. There's a hero. There were some buttons here that were part of the navigation, but then we were also contemplating whether we wanted the jump links to be there. And then we were figuring out what we wanted to have. Like there's quick links on Harvard's website as an example that we liked. And then that would be the top part. And then we'd write down the information that we would need on the home page. And this was for the financial aid pages, right? Which is 5 years old. So it's not even, it's not even what it looks like today, right? But you can see, and I'll pull up the page. Actually, it's probably more like financial aid here. So here we have the hero, we have the nav, we have the hero, we have these buttons here, and then there's some resources, the types of financial aid, and this here is a far cry from what this looks like, but it did help us try to make some decisions on what information needed to be on the financial aid page. And if you do ever take a look at the tuition and aid page, this is slightly different information, but it is meant for your first time coming to the site. So at the time, the financial aid page was the home page of financial services for students. Something else that we did do, I think it's on this page, we did end up doing the side nav as well. So there's the main nav for the same links across all the pages, and then we ended up adding this side nav for the page because there's so much on this page, it's hard to navigate without scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And some of these links do take you other places if needed. But Um, that is just to show you how, like, just a sketch like this to figure out how you want to lay out your page. Oh, yes, you can do your website about Nova Scotia. That's a great idea. Oh gosh, I'm not logged in on this browser. All right. Anyway, yes, extra thumbs up. That'd be fantastic. I love when somebody has an interest in it, instead of just going through the motions because the teacher said to. So, absolutely would be. I love to see when anyone gets creative. Somebody did all of the characters in a video game with their backstories, and they went and they got the pictures of them, and put them on the website in kind of like a tabular format, and then you could um, she had a very grandiose vision of like getting all of the stuff for all of the seasons, but she ended up just doing summaries of the seasons, like she was going to have the story and how it progressed for each of them. So don't get too carried away. If you find that it is you are getting um, overwhelmed with it, just remember the minimum, for the A is 3 pages with 2 pictures. Oh, that's awesome. That is great. Yeah, Nova Scotia's it's got to be beautiful. Um, so if they have pictures, or if there are pictures, or if they're like, hey, yeah, this looks just like near my house, you could totally use that too. Um, so in Canva, this is a bit more AI generative, so you can get a lot of help here. The problem is that it's so fantastic that it'll be hard to design it yourself, like when we're into the code of everything. Um, But we know that there are lots of resources available. But like, say you like, oh, it's the Canva Pro. Let's not use Pro. Let's see. Do we have? All right, here we go. Say you want your website to have the little name up at the top, and then your title, and then some words. And obviously, we wouldn't have like the App Store logins, but this could be to your About Us page. This could be to the contact page, and then you could have a picture here. And then you could have your footer that says, copyright with your name, and then your, if you want social media or something else in front of your footer, or at your footer. So you can have your hero part, your header be the logo, and then have your footer contain um, contact information or something else, or you know your copyright, and then have your buttons to the other 2 pages be inside the content. And this is just a quick example. If you want to look at some other CSS based design things, there is free CSS templates, and I'm pretty sure it's this one. No, that's WordPress. All right, here we go. So on this, you can kind of get an idea of layouts. You can download the code, but if you don't understand the code, then it's not going to help you learn how to make a page. But if you're like, hey, I want to make a web page that looks like this, we're going to have the part about the header. We're going to talk about the header and the nav and logos. And if you're like, hey, here's my page, excuse me, here's my page, and here's the code for my HTML. But I want my logo, instead of being on top of my menu, I want it to be to the side. And I can help you figure out how to do that. And if you're like, oh, I want to use a mouse over, like when you mouse over these icons, if they changed color or whatever, and you weren't sure how to do that, or you're trying to do it and it wasn't working, you can send it to me and I can be like, oh yeah, all you have to do is this, because this is meant to be uh, a growth project. Like, you learn to grow, not a punitive, you need to do it right. You can't ask me any questions. That's the final exam. You can't ask me questions on the final exam. That's rough enough as it is. So you can download it, and it will download a zip file, and it will have all sorts of stuff inside of it, and the pictures, and you can run the page, etc., etc. I'll show it to you real quick. Um, but unless you see they have CSS and images in JS, just like I'm going to have you guys do it. So, and then here's a giant PSD file if you have Photoshop or GIMP. I use GIMP for free and then Photoshop for work. So if you want to see, so here's what the style file looks like. And it has all these different things, but these are the basics of what we've been talking about as far as you have a body and A tags, active tags. You can set images and stuff. And I'm not saying copy this, but I'm saying some of these elements would be the same in yours, just with whatever your style is. So we can totally work within the realm of, I got some, wow, that looks rough. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. And then they also have a mobile.css, which is not required for this project. Usually I put in the media queries inside the regular CSS. They've split it up. But of course, um, if you want to go this route, you totally can. I usually, if there's going to be a change on the page, um, I'll put it in the file itself. With using Bootstrap, that should take care of most of it for us, which will be a nice load off your minds. But you can scroll through these. They have hundreds of them, 27 pages. And if there's something that you like, a layout that you like, this has got more header space and it's got like a little, obviously you don't have to have everything that's on each of these pages on your page, just the requirements. But sometimes like the look, this totally looks different than this, which looks completely different than this down here. So browse through them, and if there's something that you like, then you can kind of take that and maybe print it out, or print out the picture or save the picture as a PDF, download the style sheets if you want to look at them, and then you don't really need to worry about creating kind of that design because you'll have like what you're wanting it to look like. But if you print it, take it and open it in like GIMP or Photoshop, you can. So if we take this one, for example, um, you could say, okay, my company name, and write on it. And then here you can say, oh, I want this to be pictures of, whoop. Oh yeah, so you can edit the site. It's at Wix. um, that's another free one that you could do, but that's not the same as hand coding it from scratch. But you may get lost in the sauce, as my coworker says, when you're looking at those those things if you're not. Oh, yep, get it on Wix for free. So that's fancy. I should have looked at that. All right, we'll pop this one out. So you can say my company name, and then your home and about, contact, and you can take these out. Or in your case, it'd be uh, Mr. Landtrip. It would be, Nova Scotia, and then it could be, you could do the beautiful vistas and have some pictures on the page. You can do you know, all about the area or all about, as far as like things to do maybe. Um, and you don't need to have 5 things across, and then this could be a really stunning picture. There's as many ways to do things as there are people in the world. And mine will be pretty boring, and I will show you I can show you actually now, and I should probably link to it. Um, it is in here. If we go, oh, that's not where I want to go. All right, let's see. Close that here. There is a section. Oh, here we are. There's a responsive band web page. This responsive band web page has how to do the layouts, how they were sketching it out, and how they maybe wanted to change it. And then it talks about the HTML code right here, all of it, which again, I'm not saying copy it word for word, but I mean, this top part is practically the same. Yours would be in a style file or style folder, so it would be uh, and then whatever the name of your CSS is. So, but it's got the body and the header, and it talks about, divs and ULs and proper sections and all of the things that we're talking about. So it's a good example to use to start off, your basic page. And then if you want to design anything different at the top or the bottom, so they have their contact information right. Let me scroll right. Ooh, that's concerts contact right here. You can make that your footer. And it could just be on every page at the bottom. And then fill in the content as you need. And then let's see, where is the other one? Is it under Bootstrap? Bootstrap. Oh, that's the vacation website from previous, but you can totally use it if you do get it correct. And then these don't have any more labs, I don't believe. Not of that nature. Nope. Okay. So, yep, I would say module 9. And there's another one. Here we go, a styled band page for basic stuff. And I should probably link to those. And I can do that in Blackboard. So this is just kind of the idea stage and deciding how many pictures and getting pictures if you don't have them. And then, like I said, just update that in the assignment, and then that's an easy 5 points. And I am still available for questions, and I will try to do this every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, I sent out the notice so late. I meant to do it while I was at work, and then everything just got crazy, and I left without hitting the send button. So um, I will send out the messages sooner so that everybody is aware. But I think that was it. I think all of that into 30 minutes. So um, I hope that gets you guys thinking on how you kind of want your page to look and how you, you want to lay out things. Once we get coding into it and I do the header and the footer, and then you just have to fill in the content, it's really easy. And we'll get to the forms. And like I said, I can give you a JavaScript to check the form. Like it'll do a pop-up and stuff. Or if you want to do something else that's more creative for a pop-up, like change out images on mouse over, or use like the light box where you click on a picture and it zooms in, especially if you're going to do something with pictures that have meaning for you. We can do all sorts of things. If you want to go and do the extra. So it's not required. All right. Well, I will let everybody get back to their day, and I will upload this to YouTube and link it um, in this week's information. All right. Thank you.